Okay. All right. He starts out with competitive markets, and a competitive market is a market in which there are many buyers and sellers. I like to think thousands of buyers and sellers. So no individual has an impact. So again, a market in which there are thousands of buyers and sellers where no individual has an impact. So that means if a seller leaves the market, no one cares. Price doesn't change, quantity does, nothing changes. And the same thing for a buyer. Now, he also talks about monopolies. That's one business controls the whole market. All right. So you have competitive market with thousands where not one person, no buyer or seller impacts the market. Then a monopoly maybe with one. And then the last thing he does is talk about an oligopoly, which is 2 to 10. So you have that competitive, perfect competition, which are thousands of people selling an identical product like milk, where again, no seller or buyer makes an impact. A monopoly where there's one producer, and then an oligopoly where there's 2 to 10. Okay. He then starts talking about demand. And demand, quantity demanded, are what buyers are willing and able to purchase. What buyers are willing and able to purchase. Okay. Now remember, quantity demanded is anything that slides up and down the demand curve. So change in price, not letting me, okay. So if price would change from this, not letting me write, what is going on here? Okay. So if price would change from this equilibrium, say, you'd increase price here, you would have decrease in quantity demanded. Also, quantity demanded can change on a shift of the supply curve because that's sliding up the demand curve. The quantity demanded can change two ways. One way, a change in price, and another way, a shift in the supply curve. All right. Now he talks about price. All right. And that's the law of demand. And that is there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. There's an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. So the law of demand is there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity demand. All right. Then in income. Now there are two types of goods. There are normal goods. And what is a normal good? Income up, demand up. Income up, demand up. Income down, demand down. So a normal good is when income goes up, demand goes up. Income goes down, demand goes down. Now, normal inferior goods are only about income, not about price. So if you don't see income in the question, normal and inferior goods cannot be the answer. An inferior good is income up, demand down, or income down, demand up. So a normal good has a direct relationship, income and demand, and an inferior good has an inverse relationship between income and demand. All right. Then he talks about substitutes. Substitutes are two goods for which an increase in price of one, two goods for which an increase in the price of one leads to an increase in the demand of another. So two goods for which an increase in the price of one leads to an increase in the demand of another. So substitutes, there is a direct correlation between price and demand. of the other. So let's look at a substitute, Coke and Pepsi. The price of Coke goes up. People buy less Coke, and therefore the demand of Pepsi increases. Okay, there is a direct relationship there. Complements, two goods in which the price of one increases leads to a decrease in the demand of the other. So two goods in which the price of one increases leads to a decrease in the demand of the other. And there I would go hot dogs and hot dog buns. Okay? So if there's an increase in the price of hot dogs, people are buying less hot dogs. So therefore the demand for hot dog buns would decrease. Okay? All right. And then you got like one of the shifters, taste. I would say taste and preference. What is cool? You know, what is in fashion today, or what fell out of fashion would be taste and preferences. Expectations. What would change? What in the future will change price? So what you expect to happen in the future with price. What you expect to happen in the future with price. So if I expect prices to go up next month, the demand for hamburgers will increase this month. Okay? Because I'll buy that now instead of buying it later. And then ceteris paribus, all other things constant. All other things constant. Now, again, ceteris paribus is never the answer, but sometimes it's in the question. All other things constant. All right, the shifters of demand. You have to know time or tomorrow. Taste and preference. Income. If they don't tell you anything about income, you assume it's a normal good. Normal good, income up, demand up. Income down, demand down. Inferior good, income up, demand down. Okay? Market size. Expectations, I talked about it. And related goods, which we talked about, substitutes and complements. All of those shift demand. Okay, so that's demand. Quantity supply. So now he goes to supply. The amount of goods suppliers are willing and able to sell. The amount of goods suppliers are willing and able to sell. The amount of goods suppliers are willing and able to sell. Okay. Now, law of supply. A direct relationship with price and quantity sold. A direct relationship with price and quantity sold. Price up, quantity supplied up. Price down, quantity supplied down. All right, he used input for resources. I'd say resources are inputs, product cost, wages, oil. Those are all examples of inputs. There's a lot of other inputs, but those are the ones they use a lot. Resources, input prices, production cost, wages, oil. We know technology is a shifter. Now, for supply, it's future profits. All right. So if I can make more money next month because prices are going to go up, I will supply less today. If I can make more money next month, I'll supply less today. Okay. Shifters in supply, which are rat nests. Resources, alternative production. I can make sweaters or hats. I'm going to make whatever's most profitable. Technology, number of sellers, expectation, subsidies, which is a government incentive to produce more. So an increase in subsidies is going to shift supply right, and taxes. And an increase in taxes are going to shift supply left. Resources, alternative production, technology, number of sellers, expectations, subsidies, and taxes. Okay, there is your equilibrium, where quantity supplied, which is 7 in this picture, equals quantity demanded. Okay, price at $2. Now, let me just see what the next slide is. All right, I thought I had. Okay. Now remember, anything, any price above, whatever reason, this thing is making it very difficult for me to write. There it is. Right there is going to be a surplus. All right. It's equilibrium. And here, if they ask me for quantity supplied, where the line crosses supply, I just take it down. Let's just call it N. Okay. And then where it crosses demand is quantity demanded, I take it down and we'll call it 3. So my surplus is 10 minus 3 would be 7. The producer is giving me 10. People only want 3. I'll have 7. At the end of the day, it's going to be pressure to go downward because I have these extra 7 and I want to get rid of them. Okay. Now, if it's below the equilibrium, like here, I'm going to have shortage. So it's kind of reverse here. I look where the line crosses supply. So quantity supply is 3. They're giving me 3. I look where the line crosses demand, 10, so I'm short 7. Since I don't have enough, I might as well raise my price. I only need 3 people to buy it because that's all I have. So here, the price would go up. All right. So that is equilibrium, shortage, and surplus. And I think in the practice test, there was a question on shortage and equilibrium, which would make me equal B1 on the regular test. All right. The next is 3-step. First step, okay, graph, right, and say if they don't give you 2, it's P, QE, supply, demand, P, and Q. All right. Then identify. Market size, 5 million people move into the United States. Market size increases. Demand shifts right. I put in a new equilibrium, price and quantity. I put my arrow to show price went up. I put my arrow to show quantity went up. I put an arrow to show my shift. And that's that. Now, in here, I would say demand increased and quantity supplied increased. Why? Because I slid up the supply curve, and where I was supplying 7, I'm now supplying 10. Okay. Now I might have one with supply kind of. Okay. And this is like rat nest. So wages double due to an increase in minimum wage. All right. All right. Producers have to pay workers more they're making less profit. Therefore, they're going to supply less. Supply's going to shift left. I have a decrease in supply, and I went from 2 to 250. I slid up the demand curve. I have a decrease in quantity demanded. All right. The last thing I want to remind you is on the double shifters, which usually will be at the same time. In the double shifters, you have to just draw two graphs. So let's use these two graphs. So let's say income doubled in the United States. I would say there's the arrow, price up. There's the arrow, quantity up. Price up, quantity up. Now, let's just say the price of ice cream, because of minimum wage, resource prices went up. The supply shift left, price up, quantity down. So I've got price up in both of them. So I know price has to increase. Quantity is either up, down, or the same, ambiguous, or indeterminate. Those are the terms. Okay. Now, I'm going to load the practice tech quiz. I'll open the chat. And if anyone has any questions on anything, please feel free. If it's something on the practice quiz, just type in a number and I'll answer that question. Ten. Okay. Let me slide it down, Josh. Let's see what 10 looks like here. Okay. So it's which of the four? All right. So if we're going from winter, spring, the demand for winter coats is going to decrease because it's now like the springtime. So that would be panel B. And it would be a demand shift. And I would say taste and preference would be the shifter, Josh. Does that make sense? All right, let me look at E. Oh, hold it. 10 E. Oh, because there is no shifter of supply. Yes, but Josh, if you look at demand shifting left, quantity supply decreases. So it's not a shifter of supply, but a decrease in quantity supply. And I'm going to get to you in a second. I just want to make sure Josh understands why it's not A. Okay. All right. And question 9, I know why C is correct, but on A, when demand increases, no, I think, Ben, just for the language, when you shift demand, we just say demand increases. We don't say also quantity demand increases. Okay? It's just like a language thing. Does that make sense to you, Ben? Okay. And by the way, I would know all those graphs. Joey, you're asking 7. Let me scroll up to 7 and see what we got. Okay. When supply and demand both increase. So Joey, what I have to do there, it's a double shifter. And pardon me, because it's very hard for me. So here, I'm going to use panel A. It says when supply and demand both increase. So that's a demand shift. So price is up. And quantity is up. Now, let me find the supply shift. I think it's a little lower here. All right, let me see if I just scroll down for a second. Then I scroll down to panel C, which is a supply shift. I've got price down, quantity up. So if I look at C, the answer is D, because price may increase, decrease, or remain unchanged because it goes up in one and down in the other. Does that make sense? Okay. So Joey, the key is on those double shifters, you need to use two separate graphs. Okay. And by the way, I was practicing with a couple of guys today, and people are just want to guess what they are. Just take your time and graph. And by the way, these four graphs will be on your quiz tomorrow. So use them like I did. So I didn't have to graph them. I just went to a demand shifting right and a supply shifting right, and I was able to use them. Okay. Any other question anyone has? All right. Number 3, Thomas. All right. All right. Thomas, a rebate is like a refund. So what they're saying is in a month from now, Mustangs will be $3,000 cheaper. So if I know Mustangs are going to be cheaper a month from now, I'm not going to buy any Mustangs now. So the demand for Mustangs shifts left. Does that make sense, Thomas? Okay. Rebate is a word you guys aren't really comfortable with, I don't think. Okay. I want you to look at graph 410. I'm guessing this same graph is going to be on your regular quiz. So what could they ask you? I'm not going to ask you about 20 because I asked you. But at price 15, they might ask, what is quantity demanded? All I have to do to figure that out, I'll get number 8 in a second, okay? Price 15, whoops, sorry. I just take this line across and quantity demanded at 700. You might ask quantity supplied, that's 400. You might ask the shortage, 700 minus 400 is 300, okay? I would know how to do every one of them. And if you don't know how to do it, like say if they said the price was 25 and you don't know how to do it, either email me or find me. I'll probably be in the ARC periods 2 and 3 tomorrow. And because they're going to ask that type of question, like at 25, is it a shortage or a surplus? Well, the supply is 800, right? If I take the line from 25 to the S curve, it's 800. The demand is 500. So it's a surplus, and it's a surplus of 300. All right. Brandon, you want me to scroll up, get to question 8. I'm very glad you guys are asking. All right. Panel B, that's here. Panel B, demand shifting left. So demand decreasing. If I'm sliding down the supply curve, quantity supplied is decreasing, going from QE to QE prime. So it's going left on the axis, so it's decreasing. So the answer there is a decrease in demand and a decrease in quantity supplied. Does that make sense? Okay. Brendan, I mean, do you know how to do all four of these? Because they're going to ask you about all four of them like that. Okay. Okay. So like the first one would be I'll just do this for everyone. A is an increase in demand and an increase in quantity supply. B is a decrease in demand and a decrease in quantity supply. C is an increase in supply and an increase in quantity demanded. And D is a decrease in supply and a decrease in quantity demanded. Okay. Any other questions anyone has? Those four graphs definitely on tomorrow's quiz, and they're going to be asked similar to like it was on this quiz. Any other questions? Okay.